of Missouri is taking a new step to counter low enrollment numbers. Good evening, everyone. I'm Jordan Berger.
And I'm Brittany Pieper. Today, MU announced a new committee that will look into new approaches to improve future enrollment. KOMU 8's Matt Vereen's live on the MU campus with who will make up the committee and how it hopes to solve the problem.
The residence hall behind me is Responsibility, and it's one of 7 that will not be open next school year because enrollment numbers are down for the 2nd straight year. Today, though, the University of Missouri announced a new committee that will work in order to try and improve those enrollment numbers in hopes of having dorms like this one filled again in the future. That committee will try looking at a variety of factors, including different tuition models and ways to work with students to help come up with that new enrollment plan. I spoke with the enrollment management vice provost who will co-chair the committee, and he told me a wide variety of people will have a say in the creation of this new enrollment plan.
We will have representation from students, faculty, and staff across campus, and they will be helping us chart our course forward, and we're really excited about those opportunities for us.
To give you an idea of the enrollment numbers, from 2015 to 2016, the University of Missouri saw a 6.5% decrease in enrollment. And earlier this month, KOMU 8 reported that the school has also seen a decrease in international student enrollment. That group makes up about 7.5% of the overall student body. Reporting live on the MU campus, Matt Vereen, KOMU 8 News.
One Columbia company is working not only to create jobs, but also to improve the healthcare industry. KOMU 8's Lexi Larson tells us more about Nanova Incorporated and how it helps fund the University of Missouri.
KOMU 8 News, Columbia.
The company is working on orthopedic implants now.
It's referred to as an epidemic within the state. Opioid addiction in Missouri is growing, but a $10 million federal grant aims to fight the problem. The state's Department of Mental Health plans to use the grant's funding toward more treatment services and physician training on pain management. Additionally, the grant will help fund recovery resource community centers and prevention activities in Missouri classrooms. The department's director says he hopes the grant will have a lasting impact.
Even though it's just a 2-year grant, it will create some resources that we don't have right now, or at least expand some resources that we don't have enough of right now.
Stringer says the majority of the funding will be sent to St. Louis in southeast Missouri, where the problem is most severe. He says the grant will go into effect in early May, potentially as early as May 1st.
Jefferson City Police identified the man who died under suspicious circumstances last night. 63-year-old Jerry Robertson was the victim of a possible assault, according to investigators. Emergency crews flew him to University Hospital, and doctors pronounced him dead shortly after. Investigators say they are not sure what was used to kill Robertson, but they've not ruled anything out.
The homicides are unique in that they aren't necessarily indicative of crime trends within a community, because more often, like I said, than not, somebody knows somebody and their crimes of passion. So you can't predict or you can't necessarily prevent homicides.
If you know anything about this case, Jefferson City Police ask you to call Crime Stoppers. That number is 659-TIPS. The Columbia Fire Department's investigating an arson near I-70 this morning. Fire officials say they responded to a residential fire on St. Charles Road around 6 a.m. Quickly determined the fire was intentionally set. The department says it put the fire out in 10 minutes. No injuries are reported.
The Missouri Department of Corrections is making some changes to better manage its facilities. This comes after employees complained about sexual harassment while on the job. Starting next Friday, employees will have 3 ways to file complaints, including access to a hotline. The team introduced an Office of Professional Standards, which will split up into 3 separate units to deal with specific complaints. Ann Precythe, the director of the Department of Corrections, says these changes will teach the team to, quote, learn how to become the best management team so we can have a better impact with our frontline staff. Ultimately, that will feed into how we're responding to our offender population. The team has also experienced 9 changes in its leadership since receiving these complaints.
A little cold out there today. Let's send it over to Michael to see how the rest of the weekend looks.
Thank you, Brittany, and take a look at that full 8-day forecast coming up in just a little bit.
You've heard of music and movie festivals. How about book festivals? KOMU 8's Melissa Zigowitz is here in the studio to tell us about a book festival in town for the weekend.
The Unbound Book Festival kicked off its 2nd year in Columbia today. This year, it's bringing in nearly 40 authors from around the world to discuss their work and how the publishing industry works. The idea was started by Alex George, who thought Columbia would be a great fit for the festival. One volunteer says she thinks Columbia is the perfect community for the event.
to appeal to the already huge book lovers that are in Columbia. We have a big community. We bring in people who are also interested in books and are trying to appeal to that audience and bring together authors and readers in a very unique way here in Columbia.
The festival goes through Sunday and mostly takes place on the Stevens College campus. All events are free and open to the public.
The president's approaching a milestone in his presidency. After the break, we'll tell you about his big plans for next week.
President Trump made a new promise today, touting a massive tax cut announcement next week. This as he nears the end of his first 100 days, a milestone he originally used to promise a slew of new orders. But now he's calling it a, quote, ridiculous standard. NBC News chief White House correspondent Hallie Jackson has the story.
In the race to...
I think we're in good shape.
Trump has until the end of next week to get a spending bill through Congress in order to avoid a government shutdown. But new additions to the budget, including money for a wall along the Mexican border, could complicate that.
The Trump administration decided it will not grant a waiver to ExxonMobil so it could drill in Russia. The U.S. Treasury Department made the decision after consulting with the president. ExxonMobil wanted to drill around the Black Sea in a joint venture with a Russian state-owned oil company. A waiver was required because the U.S. placed sanctions against Russia in 2014 after the nation annexed Crimea. Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin says the administration will not issue waivers to any U.S. companies to authorize drilling that's currently prohibited by Russian sanctions.
Later in the newscast, Columbia Access Television makes some major changes following big budget cuts. We'll tell you about its hopes for future funds.
Plus, final exams are right around the corner, but that's not why some MU students will be up all night. All right. Yeah. Thanks, Michael. After the break, an MU competition this weekend could get some students a job.
It might have been chilly outside, but the Hickman Bats were red hot. We'll tell you how the Cupies fared later in sports.
But first, here's a look at your lottery numbers.
Columbia Access Television is looking ahead to a new future after its move to a new location. The station known as CAT is moving forward from 2014 when the city cut its funding from $200,000 to $35,000. Managing Director Sean Brown sees CAT as an asset to the community and is working with the city to increase funding.
We really do feel like we're providing a skill set for our members that they can take beyond just a hobby or an interest. And if that's the case, then that means we're helping support the local economy and the workforce around here as well, and just trying to help the community.
Currently, CAT receives money from the city, holds fundraisers, and applies for grants. The nonprofit station hopes to get more money from the city's annual budget in the future.
Here's what's happening right now. 18 MU students are participating in a unique competition that could help them get jobs when they graduate. MU is one of 30 schools to participate in DataFest nationwide this year. Students are working with graduate assistants to make large data presentations to a panel of judges. TradeBot Systems is one of 5 sponsors for the event. The company already hired one upcoming graduate, but one leader hopes he can help more than one at the event.
You always see many of these undergraduates in the hall. You see them in classes sometimes, and it's really terrific to be able to work with them, I guess, in an informal way and interactively to try to, teach them about some of the methodologies that they may not necessarily be exposed to.
Tomorrow, students will make presentations to a panel of judges. More than 500 students competed in DataFest nationally last year.
Hundreds of MU students are pulling an all-nighter, but it has nothing to do with studying. A few hours ago, around 60 teams filed into Mizzou Rec to walk from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. for the annual Relay for Life, which raises money and awareness for cancer research. It kicked off with a keynote speaker who's a cancer survivor, followed by cancer survivors in attendance taking the first lap around the track. Event organizers say they hope the event will show students and the community members that are affected by cancer that they are not alone.
Unfortunately, we all know someone who has been touched by cancer, and this event is just really impactful, and I know that everyone here knows what I've been through with losing a loved one to cancer.
There's similar events going on all over mid-Missouri. Relay for Life for Centralia will take place tomorrow at Centralia High School, and Relay for Life of Cooper County is scheduled for next Friday.
When battling for an NCAA tournament spot, costly errors are the last thing you want. Next in sports, how miscues decided the Mizzou-Kentucky game tonight.
That will do it for sports.
Here's a look at what we're following for KOMU8 News today. People in Columbia plan to march downtown tomorrow to show support for scientific research.
Plus, we'll preview a horse show in Boonville and tell you how it's a little different than most. KOMU8 News today starts at 6 a.m.
Taking a look at our forecast for tomorrow morning, we are going to continue to see chances for rain really till about 9 a.m. or so. And then I think rain at least moves out, but we continue to see cloud cover until about midday. We actually could see some sunshine for areas off to the north and west. A high temperature of only 57 degrees tomorrow, well below average for this time of year. We're back up in the upper 60s by Sunday, and temperatures will warm all the way back up near 80 degrees by next Thursday when our next chance for some showers and thunderstorms will occur.
And I know we talked about it earlier, but I want to invite everybody out to float your boat for the food bank. It's a really cool fundraiser out at Bass Pro Shops Lake, and the races start at 11 tomorrow. Have a great weekend.
Tonight show's next. Good night.
On air, online, on Facebook, on Twitter, on the News app, and the Weather app. KOMU8 News. Coverage you can count on.